where you're doing midterms for algebra. I don't know, maybe it's midterms, maybe it's finals. And you need to understand linear equations. Where here it is. The linear equations ultimatum. Simplification. So let us write our first linear equation. And this is linear equation basics. We're not going to do like y equals stuff and stuff like that. But anyways, we've got our linear equations. And we're going to call this, we're going to say this is our linear equation. Let's say we have 5x minus 3 equals 2x plus 8. So basically a linear equation, any linear equation, we can find how they graph. Let me just show you. Let me show you, not the YouTube studio. So we have 5x minus 3 equals 2x plus 8. And as you can tell, there is a singular point where we can graph this equation. As you can tell, we can graph the equation. So the beauty of linear equations is that you can graph them. Let's just say we have, not all equations are linear equations. We'll talk about that soon. But anything can be a linear equation, if we're honest. But not to make a good linear equation. Normally you want a linear equation with an x and a y. So that's what we're going to focus on. So we've got 5x minus 3 equals 2x plus 8. So what is our first step? So with linear equations, we want to keep x on one side and anything else on the other side. Wow. Now typically we want our x on the left and everything else on the right. So what would be our first step? Well, we have this minus 3. What if we get rid of that minus 3? I don't want it in the left. So we get 5x minus 3. What will we do to delete the negative? Well, to delete the minus 3, we have to add 3. But they both equal the same thing. So if I add 3 to one side, then it won't be equal to the other side because, well, then they're both equal. But if I change one side, since they're equal, I have to change the other side. So I add 3. So I get 5x equals 2x, 8 plus 3 is 11, plus 11. And then what do? Well, we want to get x on one side, but we still don't have it on one side. So how can we get x on the one side? Well, here we have positive 3x, right? How can we get rid of the positive 3x on this side? What do? We have to subtract by 3x. We have to subtract 3x. But if we subtract 3x from this side, well, we can't say that 5x equals 3x plus 11 and then just take away something from one side. We need to maintain a balance, an equilibrium. So then we subtract 3x and we get 2x equals 11. Equals 11. Then we can divide by 2, right? Because if we're multiplying x by 2, well, we want to get x alone. And how can we delete this 2? We can't just subtract the 2 when it's connected. But since we're multiplying the 2 and the x, we can just divide the 2 out. Because if we divide the 2 out, then we get a 1, right? And 1 times x is just x. So then we can divide by 2. And we get x equals 11 over half. Equals 11 and a half. So we solved our first linear equation. Let's go. Brandon. So next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna do 3y minus 5 equals 9y plus 6. So the first thing we do is we add 5, obviously. Well, no, yeah, because we have a negative. How do we get rid of the negative? By adding, because we have to add this. So this would be plus 5. But then to get rid of the 5 here, we can't just say that they're not equal. So we have to add 5 on both sides. So we get 3y equals 9y plus 11 equals 9y plus 11. So how do we get rid of this 9y? Well, we have to subtract by 9y. So we subtract 9y. But if we do it on one side, we do it on the other side to maintain a balance between the units. So we get negative 6y equals 11. So what's our next step? Well, we're multiplying these two together. So what if we just divide by the number we're multiplying, which would be negative 6? Well, these cancel out. And then we divide the negative 6 on the other side. So we get y equals negative 11 over 6. Now let's try it like this. Let's say we've got solve for h. And then they give us this equation. Let's just say we have, give me just 1 second. 1 second, wow. Look at the second, it's so quick. Let's just say we have x equals, let's just say ZBH plus 3. So then how do we get h? Well, the first thing we have to do is we have to get rid of the numbers dividing h. Well, what numbers are we multiplying h by? Well, let's think about it like this. We have ZBH, right? But let's just say we have x equals 3h plus 3, right? What would we do? Well, we'd divide by 3, right? Because if we want to get h alone, we divide by 3, right? And so everything would be divided by 3. So we'd actually do the same thing. But instead of dividing by 3, we divide by ZB, which is pretty confusing, but it'll make sense in time. So we get x over CB. X over ZB equals h plus 3 over ZB. So then what's our next step? Well, let's move our h to the left. So we subtract h from both sides, because to delete the h, we have to subtract. So we do minus h and minus h. So we get negative h plus x over ZB equals 3 over ZB. See what I did there? And you need to keep track of all this. It's pretty confusing. But then what's our last step? Because h is still negative. And, well, even then, we still have x plus ZB on its side. So what's the next step? We subtract x over ZB because it's on the wrong side, right? Right? I thought we knew that, right? So what do we get? We get negative h equals negative x over ZB, and then we get plus 3ZB. So then what's our next step? We divide everything by negative 1, because negative h is basically like saying negative 1h. So we can divide by negative 1. These cancel out. Then we can divide these by negative 1. And then we can divide this by negative 1. So we get h equals x over ZB minus 3 over ZB. And it's all very confusing, but once you get it all together, you put the pieces together, it comes to life. Now let me give you another type of example. Let's say we've got 1/4 x equals 7. What would be the first thing we do? Well, think about it like this. We want to get x alone, but x is being multiplied by 1/4. So how can we delete 1/4? Well, what's the opposite of 1/4? It's 4, right? So then when we multiply by 4, we can kill the 1/4, because 4 times 1/4 equals 1. So we get x. But then we can't forget to multiply just this one and forget about the 7, because we want to maintain the equilibrium I was talking about. So we get x equals 28. So let's say we have a slightly more complex equation, and I mean slightly, it's totally slightly more complex. And we have x over negative 4 plus 7 equals negative 1. What would be the first step? So the first step is we want to delete what's farthest away from the x first. Well, what's farthest away from the x on its left side? The 7. So we subtract negative 7. So what is the thing we get? we get x over negative 4 equals negative 8 over negative 4 equals negative 8. So what's our next step? Well, we have to multiply times negative 4 now to get our equilibrium, right? Right? Because think about it like this. We can multiply by the number the fraction has, or we could have just done the reciprocal. But since we have another number here, like if we have more than one number, we want to, more often than not, we want to multiply by like a whole number. As long as it clears out the fractions, it's the only goal. So we get negative 4 times x divided by negative 4. That just cancels out, and we get x, and it's still the reciprocal. And then we get x equals negative 28, right? Because we divided this, and it's actually negative 4 times negative 8 is actually 32. And if I didn't make a dumb miscalculation, which remember, I can't make dumb miscalculations, we got the right answer. So let's go. Last problem. Don't worry, this is going to be an easy one. Easy peasy, pemmin squeezy. We've got 8 times 3x plus 5 equals 9. 2x minus 8. What is our answer? So we distribute as we always do, because this is a distributive property. So we get 24x plus 40 equals 18x minus 72. So then what is our step? We subtract 40. So we subtract 40, right? We subtract, this cancels out. Then negative 72 minus 40 is negative 112. So we get 24x equals 18x minus 112, right? Then we can subtract 18 from both sides, which would give us 6x on this side, and they cancel out. So then we get 6x equals negative 112. So we do negative 112 divided by 6. And we get negative 18.666, which we're just going to write as a fraction for now, equals x equals negative 112 divided by 6. We can simplify this. I don't want to. That's too hard. Whatever you heard. So thank you for watching this video. And even though I didn't do the best job I could have done, which I tried my hardest, but, you know, some things just, some days you aren't at your best capacity. Let's just put it like that. So thank you for watching this video, and may God bless you all.